This is the Extremists Podcast. I'm your main host, Alex. I'm the center position. I'm joined here today by August, our lib left.
Bespringo.
Cole, our lib right.
What's up?
Ava, our auth left.
Azoinga.
And Micah, our auth right.
El Bingo.
If you're listening to this on YouTube, you should see a video with boxes indicating who is speaking when. You'll also be hearing audio, of course, you're listening to my voice, as well as if you're on Spotify, Anchor, or any other listening platform. Hopefully that intro was enough for you to be able to distinguish which position is speaking at what time. Today we're going to be taking a little bit of a mini-series, or we're going to be starting a little bit of a mini-series, where we pick one host at a time and they describe their ideal world under their ideology and compass position, before the rest of the hosts point out flaws, point out pros and cons, all that sort of stuff. Today we'll be starting with AuthLeft, Ava. Ava, what does your ideal society look like?
Well, I believe that the workers should essentially be treated all as equals and should be how long you work rather than the quote value of your labor. For that is because the value of labor is very subjective, and it comes down to a lot of opinion, and I think that people should be all given their basic needs, but I believe that those should be supplied by a state, which is run by few people. I think my best model for what I believe in is probably the Soviet Union. However, I believe that rather than one dictator that oversees everything, in order to keep it from becoming corrupt, there should be a group of intellectuals and a group of smart people, that run the country and develop for the economy and socially, and by good policies I mean things like collectivism, which isn't a good policy for everybody at Cole and Micah and However, that is what I see as ideal, and through that the government would gain a sense of stability. I also believe that we should have a strong military, because that would offer a sense of safety to the general public, and I don't think that the military should be used against the people. It should be used for the people in order to protect and help the citizens of the country. And I also put a very strong emphasis on education. I believe that everybody has a right to education, and that education should not only be mandatory, but should be just more of a way of life. Education shouldn't have to be saying, oh, well, can I afford to go into higher education? Can I afford to do this? It should be more about, what do I want to do with my life, and where do I want to take myself? That's very important to me, because as much as I believe in collectivism, and that's something that I value, I believe that the individual has power. However, they are more powerful when they work as a group. And so I believe that people should be able to do what they want to do, the lines of their jobs and education. But in the end, it all comes back to benefiting the group and the society. And that's really the core of my belief. I could break it down, but I think I might get a little lost because I don't really have anything written down. I'm just kind of saying this on the fly. So it's a rundown.
Okay. Anybody have any thoughts about that?
I do have something to say about that. So you said that at the beginning you said something about how labor should be defined by hours and not by, I guess, value of work. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So wouldn't people just get like the easiest jobs?
So what I believe is that the value of labor is very subjective, and I don't believe that people would take the easiest jobs, because what would you personally define? What do you think are the easiest jobs?
Oh, people in Venice, Venezuela tried it, and I'm not gonna try to go, oh, Venezuela's the socialism, communism destroyed, iPhone. Anyways, but Venezuela did try this to where they provided everyone a job because there weren't enough jobs to go around, and they when you went to a store, you had people at the cash register who would take the money. You'd have someone who put the phone or whatever kind of product you had in a bag. They'd give it to someone else, and they would hand it to you, and then someone else would say, "Thank you for shopping here."
Is that not what they do here?
No, it's not. There's
I literally see that every day at the
no,
store.
no, no,
There's
no,
somebody-
no, no, no. That's not what. Okay, what I'm saying is the government was giving these people just really simple jobs because they needed someone to just work. Now today, I don't think that you could just maybe, oh, welcome to Walmart, or thanks for shopping here. Yeah, maybe that, but not a simple put this in bag, give it to someone else, they hand
Yeah,
it to
that
you.
makes
It's not
sense.
all that. But that's the thing I find that it's an issue with hours worked, is that those jobs, no, they're really easy.
So, I guess, Ava, do you subscribe to the way Marx had described the labor theory of value? So, like, just the way he said that value comes, I guess, like you said, that from the hours put in, but also that multiplies or adds on each layer. So, I mean, just for an example, when you're making bread, so the hours it took to grow the corn, the hours then it took to transfer that corn to or corn or wheat to a factory, then the hours to turn that wheat into flour, and that flour, then those hours, and all that adds up until you get to the final product, and that's the value. And then you also add in the wage value from the worker, and that, according to Marx, was described as all the necessary goods needed to make a human live, and then that's all that is the labor theory. Is that what you believe, or do you kind of disagree with Marx in some way?
I do agree with that to an extent. However, I still believe that things should mainly be based on hours put in, because, like I said, I strongly believe that the value of something is very subjective. And yes, you could come up with a process for that. However, I believe at the end of the day that people can work hard in any job. And what Venezuela did, like what Michael was talking about, that's not ideal. And in the Soviet Union in particular, you didn't see that problem. Everybody was provided a job, people wanted to work. That's just how it was. Did it work in Venezuela? Clearly not. Then again, the system that they had in place wasn't ideal either. And like I said earlier, my ideal system would be something more like the Soviet Union, but with a bit more power to the working class, and also a bit more, not necessarily control, but just more people leading the country, like a select group of people rather than just one person.
I guess kind of one final question on the your value theory. Well, kind of. So, do the people still get paid a wage?
Right.
And that is based upon just the hours they worked, or the end value of the products they produced?
Could you repeat that?
So is it is the how their wages, is it a constant across all people, or and so it doesn't matter what you do, you get paid the same wage, and it's a livable wage? I mean, I'll give you that, it's a livable wage, but
Right.
or is it based upon the hours that they worked, or is it based upon the end product, the value of the end product?
That I personally see it, it doesn't necessarily quite agree with traditional communism, because the end goal of communism is a stateless, classless, moneyless society, and I don't agree with that at all, actually. part I can get behind. However, I believe in a state, and I believe that money is necessary. Like throughout history, you've always seen people trading things, bartering, using some form of money, and I think that's something that's just developed into people have been using, and it's a solid system. I believe that people, getting back to the original question, I believe that people should have a base living wage, and people should be provided things like in order to live and be successful. Because how can one truly be successful in a job if they are not properly nourished, properly housed? How can somebody be successful? Because that's something that a lot of people struggle with, whether it be sleep deprivation, whether it be malnutrition. That's a big part of it. And so I believe that people should be supplied that, but then when they do extra work on top of that or go above and beyond in said practice or whatever they may be doing, whether that be extra hours or whether that be, for instance, they went to school for this much extra time compared to another person, they could get something possibly added on to that, but nothing extreme where you see like your Bill Gates, your Jeff Bezos. No, that's just too far. I think that you should have middle class to upper middle class, and that's the only range and differentiation you should have between the classes.
Okay, so I guess you're trying to incentivize some type of work, unlike communism where it doesn't really have an incentive to work harder. Yours is like, you can work harder, you'll make a little bit more than your other person, but not enough to where you're in a total different class than them, correct?
Yeah, because I'm definitely not a traditional communist. However, I do fall into the authoritarian left quadrant and very far up in the top left corner. But that is something that I definitely see a little bit differently than a lot of people, because I think it's very hard to completely eliminate class. And I think, yes, people need that incentive. And sure, in the Soviet Union, people just kind of went with it, and they worked because they wanted to. But I feel like in a transitional kind of period, people are still not going to quite grasp that, and you should have kind of something there set in place, because especially in America and most countries in the world, especially, your first world countries, you have these people who are so used to the more, quote, value of your work, the more you're getting paid. And it's not something that we should fully take away, but it is something that we should limit, and we should take away poverty, and we should take away excessive wealth.
So, you said earlier that labor is entirely subjective, right?
I thought you said the value of labor.
The value, the value of labor.
I don't think entirely. However, I think a lot of it is left up to being subjective. And the reason I say that is because who are you to judge the amount of effort, say, a teacher puts in, an amount of effort a janitor puts in? Because there are different types of work. You have your skilled labor, you have your manual labor. There's just so many different facets and different ways that you can view something. And there's so many different types of skill that it's very hard and a very complicated process to really set value in what a person is doing.
Then why does the government get to do that for every job?
It's not setting the value at something like that they deem is what it's worth. They're setting it to where everyone would receive an equal pay, because it takes more than just the elite to run a society.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah.
I might be a little confused on what you're saying.
I think Micah is. Go ahead, August.
Wait, are you talking to me or Ava?
Oh, I was talking to you.
Oh, okay. Basically what I'm saying is that there has been a shift in capitalist societies to deem that the work that takes the most instruction to complete is the most essential. And while it is the most essential to maintain a level of luxurious quality of life that we have come accustomed to, it's not exactly the only things required to survive in the society. Like, yes, there are certain levels of labor that would be considered unskilled when compared to the doctors and like the very esteemed members of our society that do very important, critical, and delicate work. There is also a very there's a staunch need for people to do the work that has existed for the longest in our society, and a neglect for that work not only shows a disregard for the troubles of the lowest members of our society, but also it shows that we're becoming spoiled. Like we're thinking that everyone can live these lives that we have propped up as being the most luxurious because they were at the cusp of technology when they're created. Like those brain surgeons, those people that designed the rockets that are going into space, those were the most luxurious lives that we were awarding to people who could perform that level of work because we wanted to progress as a society, but we've neglected the base level of what makes everything else possible.
So, I don't know if I should respond to that or continue talking to Ava. I guess I'll continue with Ava. That I'll just kind of gloss over that as the answer to Micah's question. So you had talked about a central group that govern.
Yeah.
So I kind of have like a two-part question. One, how are they put in power? And then you can answer that, and I'll answer my second question.
Hold on, just ask both.
Ava, you had mentioned the government is made up of some type of group of intellectuals. How are they put in power? And number two, how do you solve the central planning problem?
What do you mean by the central planning problem? What's the problem with central planning?
So I'll just explain the central planning problem. So pretty much how it was described to me. So put yourself into the shoes of a commissar in the old Soviet Union. So he was over railroads. So, and they had to get a railroad from one city to another. And to do that, they had to either go through a mountain or around a mountain. So how would they choose how to do that if without in a capitalist system? So without knowing prices of doing those two things. So they would have to either one, go through the mountain, which would cost a lot in engineering. So they'd have to have engineers design and do all the different kind of calculations to build trusses and to do the tunneling to make sure the plans are all correct so it goes from one end to the other in the mountain. Okay. Or they can go around the mountain, which would cost a lot more in steel as it's a much longer route. So how does the central planner choose which one to go for? Pretty much it comes down to the choice is almost impossible, as you do not know if you're going to use an engineer, that engineer could be working on something else that could be useful. So the commissar would be like, well, I don't want to do something that would be bad for the Soviet Union and take this engineer away from building a hospital. So I'll go around the mountain. Okay, well, now you have to use more steel. Well, that steel may be used in building a new bridge or building pots and pans. Well, how do we need to...
Hear me out. What if they just found somebody who was available and wasn't necessarily... had just finished up a project or, you know, was able to do something? Like, why don't they just ask the workers what they think would be best?
Okay, exactly. Okay, there you go. Okay, fine. I'll go with that. So, no. This is a part of it. So, yes, you're correct. You would need to go to your workers and be like, okay, and set a value of, okay, do you value steel more as of this time, or do you value engineering more at this time? What is more valuable? What can be used at this time? So you would have to ask, whatever. I mean, in the old Soviet Union, it was what, 200 million people. You need to go and ask 200 million people, get all the information, and they would tell you.
You have to go and ask all 200 million people. In what society don't we have this problem? Because there's always people working on projects. There's always people that you have to. There's always these things that are going to happen.
Which is why you have
to-
prices. That's the whole point of having prices, because the company, the whole point of this was to say, okay, that's in the central planning problem. The central planner has to choose one of these two, and the resources are finite. They are not. You do not have an infinite number of resources, both in man hours of engineers and in steel, and these have to be used all over the whole Soviet Union. There's only a finite number of engineers all over the Soviet Union. There's only a finite number of steel for the whole Soviet Union. So he would have to choose between one of those, and the only way he can know that is by asking everybody in the Soviet Union, and then at that time, what their value system is to rank their values, and then use that information to do it. That's a insurmountable problem, because it's so much information to go through. By the time you get through all,
it's not even some big gotcha moment. That's like a manufactured issue in a situation like the Soviet Union. In a situation like the Soviet Union, there still is a ruler, and he will make the decisions. He doesn't go around asking every single person. Like, yeah, he's informed.
Well,
But he's
I
not going to
understand.
ask every layperson.
Yeah, but
to go around and
that's
ask
kind of
every single
inefficient.
person.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you would okay. Let's just start. They make a decision. He just says, okay, whatever. I want to go through the mountain. Now he is pulling at some point he is pulling engineers from another project to come do this, or they just wait on it forever till every other project get done that the engineer's working on.
That operates under the assumption that they're already busy and that there is not a single engineer not doing something. And if that is the case, then that means that we would shift to the product that they are currently working on instead of creating a new one while they're already busy. But that also still operates under the assumption that there's not a single engineer or worker who is not doing something at the moment.
Right, and that's what I was just thinking of, because you realize that there's always going to be somebody that's available. Out of 200 million people, you'd think one of them would be available. And you don't have to go around asking every single person in the entire Soviet Union exactly what they want, what they think would be best.
I would like state-mandated Big T Mommy GF.
Cut that part out.
No!
I'm leaving that in. That's
Leave it in!
My grandmother
I guess
watches
it's
this podcast.
That's nice.
How
I don't care.
How could you do the best for the Soviet Union unless you did not know all the information?
How could you do the best for America if you didn't know? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean
So
you don't know all the
information is like the prices on things.
Well,
What
it's not
is
even
the
price, because there are
value?
no prices in it.
What is the value of one over the other?
Exactly. Why would you choose to go around the mountain instead of choosing going through the mountain? You could choose to go through the mountain. At that point, you are choosing that we value the engineers less than the value of.
Holy
Okay,
shit,
well-
it's called making a fucking decision. It's not, you're not going to sit there and
Yeah,
deliberate
it's
for your
not
entire
gonna end the whole
life.
Soviet Union. So essentially, the way I see it is just ask the workers what they think is most efficient, because they are trained in that field. They are trained in that specific field, and you can ask them. Because as the leader of a country, I believe that you shouldn't have like overall like power constantly. You'd make every single decision. I think you should leave part of that to the workers and take their input on big projects, because you can't just complete an entire project and just send people out of their way.
Which workers?
What do you mean, which workers? The workers.
Are you talking about all workers?
The ones that specialize in the field that you're asking the question
Yeah.
in.
So
like,
steel, construction,
No,
engineering.
you fool. We're talking about people who work on railroads.
Why would the people that work on railroads, they would just say, yes, we know that we need this much steel, and we also know if we go through this mountain, we're going to need this many man-hours of engineering.
Yeah,
That's
so
already
then
known.
Exactly. Where's the problem?
You just said that
Okay,
that
then
wasn't
how
known
you
because
have
there's
to
no
choose-
prices.
If there is a finite number of engineer man-hours, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And if we know that we have this many engineer man-hours, or they don't even know that, they know it takes this much. Now we need to know how many engineer man-hours do we have that we can give to this. Or it is, how much steel do we know how much steel it's going to take. How much steel do we have that can be used for this? Now, how do you get that information?
You run like is that even a question? Do you
I
not
don't
know how that
understand. Like,
works?
what do you...
It's if they've built a railroad before, they can do this crazy thing called math and figure it out. I'm not a rail
They
worker.
have already
but
figured out the math. Like, they know it's going to take this many man-hours to engineer to go through this mountain. All right?
Yeah.
Okay,
They already
cool,
know. That's
cool,
already known.
cool.
Go ahead.
We understand this. We're just trying to wrap our heads around how this is a problem because you have your budget, you have everything listed
Yes.
for you.
All right, now it comes time
start
to
working.
construct. Now it comes time to choose which one to choose. Okay, we can either. It's gonna take. Okay, we'll just. I'll
To
literally
choose the
put
more efficient one.
the more efficient one. How do you know which one's more efficient if
To
you
ask
don't
the
know?
workers which one is going to be the most beneficial to them, what is going to be the best for the steel industry, how much steel do you have, how many workers do you have available?
Yes, that's exactly what I was saying before. You get all that information. Now, you have to crunch down all that information, and you're taking people's value system and saying, I value steel more right now, or I value, and then crunch
What?
all that down. That is an almost impossible task to do.
Do you not know how like hierarchies work in the workplace? We're not getting rid of those. We're just saying that the people who are above other people don't make more money than the people they're above.
I understand
just-
that, but they still have to make the decision. Like,
So,
Yeah,
how do you not understand
Oh.
this? Micah, do you understand what I'm saying?
well, since we're
Kinda,
being
yeah.
hypothetical here, I really want to know, where is the train going?
So it's just going from one city to another. There is
But which city? What cities? Like, that would
Motherfucker, I don't-
determine
That's
we
almost
have
how
to
much this
figure out
matters. None of
how
it,
much
like this
worth
is a
are these
non-issue.
how much are these cities worth? What is the value of the cities that
Yeah,
this
you could
train is
also like
going
you're gonna have to look into like how much it would disrupt the local ecosystems to just tunnel through a mountain versus going
No,
around. Like,
okay, I see
it's
what
a
you're
real
saying.
world
You're-
issue.
I mean, I see your point is how efficient, how can we make this more efficient? Because if, let's say, steel has a pricing, we know steel is this valuable, and steel, we can, it's more, I guess, it's cheaper, it's much easier to do,
See-
than to, frickin' engineers, than to hire all these engineers to,
Wait,
I
those,
see what you
those
mean.
units are not directly comparable. Just because you have a surplus of steel doesn't mean you need less engineers.
Right, and then again, how do
No,
you
no,
determine
that's
the
what I
value
forgot.
of where
I forgot
the
his
train is
other
going?
units. So I forgot his other
exactly.
units.
Because
This
there
is the
isn't
problem.
do you
How
know
is
that
that
railroads are made out of steel and wood? It's not like, oh, if you go through the mountains, you got to use tungsten or
No,
something.
no,
like
he
that.
said he was like more steel. It's kind of like a balance on.
To go
Uh,
around the mountain, it is like
Okay,
miles longer, so you have to use
Cool.
more steel.
Yeah, so then use
hypothetically-
less steel.
hypothetically, since we are speaking hypothetically here, so you said, what if they're working on a hospital? Well, what if that railroad is crucial to get to that hospital? What do you do then? How do you determine this value?
Again, that's I understand that. That's where they need. Okay, they need a railroad here. They just need to know: do we go through the mountain or do we go around the mountain?
Why does
Alright.
it matter that much?
Because
He's asking,
matters
like,
for-
is it more efficient to go one way or another? And he's saying that it's not a good idea to leave that up to the state to decide what is more efficient and what isn't efficient.
Okay, but if
'cause-
it's going to a
because to
hospital,
figure out the efficiency, you have to ask everybody in the country how they feel about it, because
you
they are
don't.
the ones
Oh.
getting the goods, and they are the ones doing the man hours. So
Okay,
if
but if it's going to a hospital, you just want to plow right through the mountain because it'd take the fastest.
okay, that's fine. Yeah, you make that decision, but now
And
you
I
have
just
to.
made the decision, so why can't the why
Now you
can't
have to,
the
now you
leader
now,
of the
to-
country
now
make
at that point
decision?
you would have to say, all right, now how many engineer man hours do we have? Where can we pull it from? And
not
if you
hard to
cannot
do.
pull it from it, what?
That's not hard to do.
So you just pull them from other projects, or is it just? I mean, again, there's
Do
a
not
finite amount.
understand earlier when we were saying that there's definitely going to be engineers and railroad workers who aren't working on anything at the time, especially if you're building a new railroad. That most likely means that another railroad somewhere else has just been completed and they're moving on to the next project with railroad workers.
Well, not all railroads need a certain amount of design. I'm just saying there's an easier way to do this, and it is to have prices. And then the company that's doing it can just be like, okay, which option's cheaper right now? This one.
Okay, Cole, you see how like you automatically start to assign autonomy to the company because it is a company and not a workers union. That autonomy doesn't disappear because it is now a workers union.
It's
They can
not even
still
about autonomy.
operate-
It's about prices. Like if you,
unless Cole needs to have money, otherwise society will just
Yeah.
not function. Like you realize how
Not
much of a
everything is
non-issue
about
this
money.
is.
literally,
No,
if you don't have-
he's saying what's the value of something.
Yeah, if you don't, if you, yes, again, that's exactly what I'm saying. You don't know,
You
if you
guys
don't have
realize
prices
that-
to assign the value of something, you can, like, you would have to ask the people what their values are. Is what I'm saying.
Bear in mind, the Soviet Union had money, guys. It's not like money just disappeared because they're like, all right, guys, we're gonna
Right.
start treating people normally. Like, yes, a moneyless, classless society is ideal, and it is the goal that we work towards. However, on the way that we work towards that society, it's not like we're just gonna forget how to assign value to things.
I am gonna say one point that Ava did not agree with that.
Yeah, I don't personally agree with that, but that's technically the end goal of communism, so I mean, go off, I guess. I mean, that's not personally... I describe myself as a Stalinist. However, I mean, I can understand where August is coming from when you say that is the end goal. And if that is the end goal for, like, his ideal society, that's okay. This episode is about me. I mean, is it not? I think that's what we agreed upon. But...
No, yeah,
Yeah, it is.
it's about you. That's why I were asking you the questions.
You've
I guess.
definitely done the most talking.
I hope so. I mean, I should be. No, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
Cole
No, you
is.
should.
Just kidding. But see, I just don't understand the entire road like question, because you don't have to ask every individual person. You find the people who are ready to work. You get your supplies. You get everything you need, and then you build the railroad. And determining value, you still have money. It's not a completely moneyless
So there
society.
would be prices in your society, is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay, how are those prices? Where do they come
Yeah,
about from?
if you said value is subjective, then where does the prices come from?
And the labor, like it goes back to just how much labor is put in. That's where the cost comes from.
What if that's entirely subjective?
How is the amount of hours put in
Oh, fuck.
subjective?
Mother. Shit.
What?
Oh, I'm just saying, like how hard you work. Because are you disagreeing that some jobs are harder than others?
No, absolutely. I'm just saying in general.
So
You
if
have-
some jobs are harder than others, why should you get paid the same based on how many hours you work?
I never. Okay. I'm talking.
Or sorry.
Baseline. I'm talking baseline here. So just in general, like all of your, for example, I put a lot more emphasis on human rights, giving people what they deserve for the work that they can do. And if that means one person is capable of doing this, great. If that means another person is capable of doing a very skilled, highly skilled job, wonderful. They should all be supplied with baseline needs, like with what their their food and their shelter.
That's
And
not
think-
what I'm asking. That's not what I'm asking. Because I mean, I'm not arguing against that. I disagree with it, but it's not something I'm arguing with right now. I'm saying why should the government decide how much value something is?
I was getting to it, Micah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry,
No, it's okay.
My bad.
I was just leading into it by saying that I put more emphasis on human rights. And that's my main kind of drive towards what I believe in, is giving the workers that kind of power that they deserve. And so the value comes from the work put in according to what the people are able to do. And that's where your value comes from. And it's more of a mathematical thing than a subjective thing. How many hours did it take? There has to be some sort of equation that people put in order to determine value. How much schooling went into it? How much schooling went into this specific job? How much time has this person put into this job? And I think that's what should determine value, and it shouldn't just be what the markets say. It should be how much work someone has genuinely put in to get to where they are. But I still believe that people should have
And
that
how do you
baseline
measure
order.
that?
I just said that. Through how
No,
much
I'm saying
schooling-
like, no, like okay, what if there were like, you compare two jobs, neither one of them have, I guess, they have like an equal amount of schooling. Would they just be paid the same? Like, even if one's significantly, I guess, let's say takes more physical, it's more physically exhausting than the other. Would that be, how would you find the value of which?
Amount of time put in, and it's not something that I have perfected. It's not something that I've been able to completely figure out. However, because I'm no mathematician, that's not my thing, but I do believe that there is something out there that would be able to determine it mathematically, whether that be the amount of hours put in combined with the amount of schooling put in combined with the need, and the need being like your percentages, your analytics, your statistics. I'm very logical, and I like to have.
I see that part, but when I'm saying, for if you take out these like objective things, like objectively more schooling, more
take out the objective things.
No, the thing is, if you take that out, there's still the rest of it is.
Micah, I think I kind of want to clarify what you were saying is, by an example. Okay, so if you say that it is the amount of labor, the amount of hours you put in, work, schooling, everything.
I'm saying that like yes, there are some objective factors when it comes to labor, but most of it is entirely subjective.
Like as in the efficiency of the worker. Go ahead. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I agree that a lot of it is subjective. However, you need to look at the objective things in order to come up with a solution, because we need to look at things statistically and rationally. And I don't think that leaving things to the subjective is fair, because everybody's going to have a different opinion on that. And I think that we should look at all things from a mathematical standpoint. And that's just an opinion that I have that you may not agree with. That is just the way that I see it, and that's the way that I would justify value.
But if it's something that's majority, yes, there are objective factors, but it's majority subjective. Labor is majority subjective, and I think that it should be judged by that. Because if there are objective factors like hours worked, like education, yes, you would get paid more. That goes into how subjective on, or
right.
Even those, like, you could say that even that's subjective on how that affects, like, or how that is in comparison to the job you're working.
You would have to set the value also of each education you got. I mean, it's like there would have to be.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
I mean, each education. If I went into engineering, does that mean I make more, or mine is worth more than the person that went into general ed, or it went into art? Like, but if it's not, then an education is just all. Then why does education matter at all?
Well, see, it really doesn't. Like, when you think about it, there are a majority of jobs that, as long as you have a degree, a majority of the jobs, all they require is a level of prestige to enter the work environment. A majority of the jobs, all you have to do is work the job, and you learn on the job.
I wouldn't say that, because you would have, the whole medical field you'd have to, the whole of engineering you would have to, the whole, go ahead.
Is engineering something that you're passionate about? Do you like engineering? Is that what you really wanted to go into?
Yes.
There we go. You wanted to do it, and did you want to do it because of how much money you were going to make?
Yes.
What?
It's almost as if some people get jobs.
Wait, are you surprised by the fact that he went into that career to make money?
Look at the reason why.
That is a completely legitimate reason for some people to go into fields that they want to go into. Money is a big factor when
money is an enormous.
It's an enormous factor. It's like I would love to be a musician. I would love to be a musician. I can't make a career out of it, a reliable career. On one hand, I want to be a musician, but on the other hand, I want to put food on the table for my family. Reliably. I should say reliably.
I'll just take August, because I already know what you're going to say. Is the argument is you can do that because we're already providing you everything else, so you can just do whatever you want. But my thing
But
is,
how is that productive?
I mean, that's
Wouldn't you
one.
know it? Not everyone wants to do the glamour. Like me personally, I have no issue with if that's like if I could get by in life just doing like physical labor, I would do it. And there's not like I have aspirations to do more things, but that's also something that's required of me in order to consider myself a successful member of society. But if I could literally be just as successful as anyone else by just like moving heavy thing. Wouldn't you know, I was born to be someone who can move heavy things. I'm a bigger person. I can move things. And if that's my skill, then I'm going to play into my skill. But because we live in a society where you have to become a doctor or spend years in education, I'm getting a degree that I personally don't really want.
Why?
You don't have to.
Because I have to go and get a job to make a lot of money in order to consider myself successful.
Exactly.
Why
and,
do you,
I
why do you
to
want to be considered successful?
Because I don't want to be unsuccessful in a society where you have to.
And so in a society of
Yes,
where
it's looked up to be successful, but it's not a requirement.
also I would like to say, what is successful in the Soviet Union?
being a productive member of
Yeah,
society.
literally being
That's
a
it.
productive member of
Just
society.
being a base level
Contributing.
productive, not I mean just
Hive mind.
I mean why I mean if you have ambition, what is your goal in the Soviet Union?
So, I just want to take myself, for example. I want to be a musician. And if I were to live in the Soviet Union, I would be given that opportunity. And they would see my potential and they would run with that. And they would say, for example, you're a musician, you're going to go
Okay,
into
but-
music, and you're going to make a living off of this. Because it's what I want to do and it's what I'm genuinely good at. Now, here in the United States of America,
I have a
mean,
question.
if I really... Yeah?
What if I also wanted to be a musician? Keep in mind, I can't sing or play instruments.
Well, you could certainly try, but maybe that's not the right path for you.
The government
Well,
decides.
okay,
okay, but that-
no. That's
Yeah.
maybe that's one of the issues with far left economics is the government decides what you're good at and then just puts you in that role.
Yeah.
Well, if it was a genuine desire and not just a haha straw
What
man
if I'm
moment,
like really
then
good at
you would've-
sports, but I don't want to do it? But I
Okay,
but
okay,
the
but what
government's
if I
gonna put me in
what if I did
sports.
though?
If
Like,
you
these
actually,
are-
if this was your lifelong desire,
No, I
was to
wasn't
be a
passionate
famous-
about it at all. I did not want to be. I didn't want to do anything sporty. Or let's reverse it. Let's make it a little bit more realistic, I guess. Engineering. What if I was really good at engineering or mathematics or something in the STEM field, but I fucking hated it?
Okay, well, look at the realistic. Like, how would you know, or like, why would you be good at something so specific as like a form of engineering, if you had
Not
never
like
had
it.
any interest in it?
If you're good at math, you definitely. I mean, it's pretty easy. I mean,
I was good at math, but I
Oh,
hated it.
Oh, I'm good at math. I am very good at math, but I hate it. It's terrible.
There you go. I mean, if
But
you-
in a far left economic idea, would the government just say, "Oh, well, you're really good at math. We're going to put you in a role involving math, even though you hate it"?
Okay, well, if you think about why you're forced, okay, now this is something that I'm just taking your example, but I want it to be applied to the job system. Like, I'm not saying people shouldn't be educated on subjects that they don't like, but like the reason that you are good at math and you know that you're good at math is because you were forced to study math. Now, in a job system where you can't just be automatically good at engineering, you have to study, you have to like go in and look, like each individual field of engineering has its own study course. And you wouldn't just be good at a very specific job unless you were forced to do it. The only reason you'd be forced to do it is if you, one, wanted to put bread on the table and you knew that was a very good job to go into to
Or
make
the
good
state,
money.
or the state told you.
The state told you had to.
yeah, I'm
Okay,
confused.
if you would have let me finish what I was trying to say, you would have probably formed a desire in a job field before you reached the working age, and that would have been the field you would have gone into. It's not like oh, well, you must be doctor because XYZ. It's
You must
oh,
be
man,
doctor
well,
because you're really good at it. Oh, you don't like it? That sucks. You're really good at it. So I think we're gonna.
I do
Why?
wanna
How
ask-
would you know that you're good at being a doctor if you have no express interest in being a doctor? Would have never put yourself in a situation where you could have become noticed for being good at being a doctor. Think
You're-
about
you're-
that.
you're-
I haven't
realistically.
put myself in a
you're-
situation to where I'm good at math. I'm required to take math in order to
And
progress
there-
it's not
and
even-
graduate
it's not
from the
even
schools
that.
that I'm in.
It's not even that.
Before I went on this tirade, I said, "Hey, apply this to jobs, not to education subjects."
But you're just leaving out a huge thing. But also, people sometimes want to be doctors just by seeing other doctors. It's not even like, oh, I know I'm good at a doctor. I just see another doctor and I want to do that. You may suck. You may be like half a tard and still like want to do that. How, like, at that point you can't say that all people just they're just going to be, they only like the things that they are educated in, because that's just not true.
Okay, well, why would someone learn to play the guitar if they didn't like playing the guitar?
My mom forced me to play piano, and I didn't want to play piano.
Yeah, that's your mom, not the government.
And are you acting like the government would not assign jobs?
Yeah, but also what you're saying is that even if we were in Soviet society and my mom made me play it, why did I not like it? Like, I don't like it, so you're not forced.
You weren't good at it. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was good at it. I won awards for it, but I hated it, so I didn't want to do it. That goes totally against of what you're saying.
Okay, well, there's a difference between your mom making you do something and you deciding what you want to do with your life. Once you become an adult, you can make adult decisions and make your own
my
interest.
adult decision is I want to be a doctor, not because I've tried doctor before, and so I go into doctor and I suck at it.
Okay, well, let's be realistic here. Let's be realistic here.
Okay.
If you express interest in wanting to be a doctor, you would probably go through a doctor's entrance exam where they're not expecting you to know how to do every single doctor responsibility. They just want to see if you have the aptitude to do doctor responsibilities. And then after that, they would commit you to the education required to being an actual doctor. No one is perfect.
So you cannot do exactly
the idea of the argument is that you are put through. You want to do something, you try to be educated for it, you suck at it, you continue to suck at it, the government instead takes you and puts you in a better place where you will better benefit the collective at the expense of the
against what I was saying in the beginning of, if you want to do it, you can do it, but it's not true, because if you want to do it and you suck at it, the government will move you to somewhere else.
Well, it's not like you're going to be able to choose your exact job. You can choose the field.
What if I wanted to be a pilot for the Soviet Union, but I'm colorblind?
Well, then you could probably go into logistics for the Air Force. It's like if you're not good at being a
pilot.
No, I want to be a pilot.
Okay, well, here's I'm being realistic here again. Like, let's look at the United States Army, for instance. You have to have a certain ASVAB score to do every job.
Yep. And we're talking about the Soviets.
Okay, and then looking at the Soviet, let's say you wanted to be a doctor, right? And you can't be a doctor. Well, once you know it, you can be a assistant, you can be a nurse, you can be a receptionist at the fucking hospital.
I'm just going back to the original argument of, if you want to do it, you can in the Soviet Union. I have a passion for this, so you can do it. That was the whole argument.
When I said passion, I meant you're actually also good at it. Like,
thank you for that.
Well,
that's a totally different argument.
That is a huge factor.
I just liked hearing you guys go off at each other. I was just sitting back and listening. It was funny. I wasn't gonna actually complete, like, you guys just don't really let me finish much, and so I just wanted to hear you guys take that and run with it before I eventually came around and said, actually, what I meant by passion is that it's something that you're also capable of actually doing.
So that goes into now, if you are, so let's say you're passionate about something, but you suck at it, and they say, okay, well, you can't do that, you have to do something else. Now you're not passionate. Why would you work hard for the Soviet Union? Why? You don't have a passion for what you're doing.
Why would you work hard anywhere if someone shut down your passion?
You see that a lot in, like, American capitalism, where you
because
have,
money,
like,
I want money, so I work hard.
It's like, yeah, but again, it's like you're saying all people would work hard. All people can also do their passion, unless they aren't good at their passion. So then people that have a passion they're not good at have to do something else. Why would they work hard? Because the whole point of this was you have to work hard for you already get a livable wage. The most you could get is a tiny little bump. Why is there not apathy?
I don't know. I'd imagine it's probably the camaraderie.
You could get a tiny little bump, and you could have a little.
Don't
bit
you
of a
get
better...
it, Cole? It's for the collective, Cole. It's for the collective.
It's like,
you want to be happy? That's cringe. That's cringe. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We have a quota for the collective to fill. Okay. I don't care if you're happy.
Hey, sorry, musicians. Off to the coal
you are
mines.
just ignoring human biology of apathy.
Yeah, it's human biology. The attitude that is created by capitalism to try and
capitalism.
Put other
Before
people down.
capitalism, people were apathetic. It wasn't like capitalism came around and all of a sudden people were just like, All right,
Are you
like,
familiar with any like society that isn't
Then
strictly
why are people
Eurocentric?
communists? Why am I here? Why am I saying these things that I'm saying?
You might not.
apathetic,
Okay, okay,
therefore no one is.
okay.
It's
But
not
what if
I
what if
meant.
you're
I just-
apathetic
you were
to?
making it look like everybody in the world was
Hold on,
just
hold on. What if-
apathetic and we were
But
born that
what
way.
if you're what if you're apathetic to different scenarios, like different situations, or issues?
Again, you're saying
What?
that for the Soviet Union to work, everybody would want to work hard, because if they didn't work hard, they would just be receiving a paycheck, doing the bare minimum to get by, and other people would suffer. Correct? I mean, that would happen, right?
I don't know. You're kind of like you're looking for like the issues acting like they don't exist already in like other systems
Yes,
that we're trying to
I understand
fight,
they
is
exist
the thing.
already, but the point of capitalism is to say if you're apathetic, you won't make as much money. If you work harder, you'll get more money and also help everybody else because you get more money. And the harder you work, usually, if you work hard and you work smart and you're ambitious, you will make more money. And doing that, you will provide a better service to other people.
Have
But-
you ever like worked a job in America? I'm gonna be completely honest. My boss does
Did.
not give a fuck. My boss does not give a fuck if I work as hard as I fucking can, because once you know, it's my range of, oh, am I working hard today or am I not working hard today? Like, yeah, you can tell if someone's half-assing, but like, it's not like oh man, we actually have like neuroreceptors that can tell exactly what percentage of effort you're putting in, and once you know, you weren't putting in enough effort. Like, that's a non-issue. That's
Okay,
completely a
no,
non-issue.
No, it is an issue, as in there are thousands and millions of people that worked harder at a time in capitalism to get better. That you can't say that didn't happen, because there are countless like examples of that, from Steve Jobs to
Are you saying Steve Jobs works to get to where he was? Are you actually saying that? Because I would love to pull out the
Steve
receipt
Jobs
on that.
didn't work to get where he was. He didn't start a company,
Do
and
you know how he actually got famous, and like how he actually? Do you actually want to go there, Cole? Because I did a report on this like a year ago, and
So
it's
what did he do?
literally his entire business ethos was finding other people who had ideas, and he bought their ideas. How do you think the iPad came about?
hey,
He bought the
y'all-
idea of the iPad from one of his workers.
I would
yes,
like
and
to.
he was
I would like
ambitious to
point
do
out-
that. He said,
Oh,
I
he
can
was-
take these ideas
I
and make
would
them
like-
better.
Ideas.
Are you kidding me, Cole? He stole the idea.
You don't
He
get
didn't
it.
steal it, he bought it.
August.
Cole, do
You
not
don't
understand.
get it.
Really,
That you buy
I
someone
would
else's
really
idea.
like to point out that there are commission-based jobs.
That's also true.
There are
But
commission jobs.
again, in capitalism, I'm saying if there is a chance, if you work harder, you will make more money. In
Cole,
communism,
you
if you
have,
work
like-
harder, you will.
Cole, you have like indoctrinated yourself into. If I work hard enough, I will be a billionaire.
That's
You
not what
have really
I'm.
bought
No,
into
that's
that.
not what
You
I'm saying.
have
I'm
bit the
saying,
onion, my friend.
I'm saying there is a chance. I'm saying
a
yes,
chance.
yes, there is a chance if you work harder, you will make more money and you will be better off.
And you're
in
telling me you
communism,
would
it-
rather
What you're saying
live
is
for that
communism,
chance.
in communism, if you work harder, you will just get a pat on the back and said you're doing good for your brethren, comrade. And
Cole,
then
you're telling me you would live for that chance and allow millions of people to starve on the streets in third world nations that we exploit for labor and for natural resources. You would rather live for that chance than allow for all those people to have a normal life.
Incoming communism starve memes.
yeah, it's like I don't understand where
You
you're
realize, hey, wait. If you want to bring out the memes, you also have to look at the released CIA reports from like the 70s and the 80s and the 60s
I
about
think
how
you
like
mean from 1983 when they were state capitalist.
Okay, all right, I concede. You guys win. There is no winning.
But again, you can't say like it's
Sorry, you're arguing with me and Cole. You were arguing a brick wall.
Yeah, I've noticed that. There's no
We're
such
just
thing as like
arguing.
upsect.
Like, see, if I was part of this argument now, even though this episode was technically supposed to be about me, but anyways, like, I'm... Yeah!
They've bit the onion. They think they can become billionaires. There is no convincing them.
literally. I said
otherwise.
there's a chance. Like
Oh,
I don't.
you have a. How
I'm
many
gonna-
billionaires
the
are there?
central-
Are there
I
chances
think
in communism?
what
to
I'm,
be
I'm
a
trying, I think
billionaire?
what I'm
I'm
understanding
gonna
is
keep it real with you. I don't want to be a billionaire. I'm gonna keep it real with you.
So then
What do
why
you-
are you
so listen,
like...
listen. I think what the central argument is under communism, and I think you guys pretty explicitly admitted this. If you work harder
and you meet maybe a higher quota or something, you will get a little bonus. Well, in capitalism, you have a chance of, if you work harder, you can really climb that ladder when it comes to the economic ladder, at least.
What costs, though? Do you realize in order to be high, someone else has to be low?
That's
Like,
not true
surely
at
you-
all.
Not necessarily.
That's a dichotomy that is not true at all.
Oh yeah, because there's just infinite money in the world. We could just keep printing more and more and more, guys. You see,
Being
It's-
high
it's-
in the
Wait,
economic
wait,
ladder does not
I would like to
necessarily...
point out that living
My brain
conditions of
hurts.
poor have increased drastically.
perhaps in America, but you also have to realize
yeah.
that we're
No,
extracting
across
from
the
the rest
world.
of
It's
the
actually
world.
across the world.
For one source, I would love to see it.
All right,
And-
I mean, I could do a 5-second.
Here, let me just pull my
And
my,
even-
my
and
Google.
even if it has, you also have to realize that the amount of people who are like it's almost like you guys don't look at graphs. It's great. Math
If you
is a
just
great thing. You should
read
just,
theory, you will get the
Honestly-
argument.
honestly,
no,
if you
don't you
would.
dare make that argument. No.
If
it's
you say
almost
read
like you know
theory,
this
your
is
If you
argument
say
is
read theory, your
invalid.
argument is
It's
completely
invalid.
invalid.
it's almost like
argument
it's a
is invalid.
nuanced subject, and you actually have to know what you're talking about. and
There's a
not just be
difference
like, oh,
between,
well,
hey, make sure you have sources, and hey, read theory because I can't properly explain to you my ideology because it's so fucking fringe and only 20 people in the world
the
believe
fact
it.
that there
Yeah,
has
and
to
it
be
has to be
theory,
of world
and it has
population.
to be explained a certain way to make sense.
the fact that theory has to be inducted just for other people to live equally to yourself it says a lot. I'm just gonna be completely
Theory
honest.
is different than
I think it
actual
does say a lot.
practicality. I think communism is great in theory. I think it's wonderful, but I don't think it works that well in practice at all.
I don't even think it's great in theory.
Yeah, me
Thank you,
neither.
thank you, and Cap. I mean, I've read the Communist Manifesto. I think it's a good read. I think there is some stuff I genuinely agree with, like not disarming the workers.
Yeah, that's everyone here.
That's
agrees with that.
everybody here is pro-gun. I'm pretty sure. That's why
and
we
by the way,
we
that's
thought
a
about
really
talking.
weird thing that we all agree upon.
I don't think so
Yeah,
because we're all
No,
extremists.
We all
and-
okay. The gun argument isn't an argument of more auth or lib, right or left. It's an argument of are you retarded or not.
But I mean, I was thinking about making guns like in a talk in the first episode, but I think that it was pretty obvious that we're all pro-gun. That's just one of the things that I don't think it would be an interesting discussion.
I don't know if everybody is pro-gun to where it's every weapon.
Oh yes.
I'm sorry, I would like to buy my
I know
M4
Mike might
Sherman.
be.
Legalized
I am
tank.
also. I didn't know if anybody else is. But I mean, that's a different argument for a different day.
We can talk about the gun regulation. I'm not pro-gun control. I'm
That's-
pro-gun regulation, but that's a separate discussion.
Again, this
okay.
this is the AL.
But this is still the AL
Podcast.
podcast, so we're going to be talking about that.
I did want to have like one more question.
One more question.
I mean, I guess I don't know.
We're kinda
what's the
getting
time?
to-
What's
well,
the timestamp?
We're
My
getting
brain
to.
fried. I had my first day of back to
Um,
school today, so I already had enough.
Okay.
We are at about an hour and 10 minutes. I was thinking we were getting kind of to the point
I
where
think
we're going to
that's-
wrap up.
Oh yeah, that's.
I wanted to
Okay.
aim for about an hour.
Okay,
I think-
Ava, do you want to say anything to like finish off since we kind of
Yeah.
like
Do you want
Yeah,
closing
you have the
closing
final
thoughts?
say. You have the
You have the final say.
thought.
Yeah, so essentially, when it all comes down to it, I a lot of more emphasis on human rights, and I believe that at the end of the day, the people matter more than the money, you know? And I feel like that's a defining factor between left and right, is that the people on the left are more for the people, and the people on the right are more about the economy, and that's just a general thing I see, and that's not necessarily true in all cases. However, I think it's a generalization that's safe to make. And you know, it's like with Ancapistan and all of that, you see, oh, the parents are going to keep their kids out of the coal mines, rather than there is this law in place to ensure that there are no children in the coal mines and that they all are ensured good childhoods. You know, there's just that kind of difference. And at the end of the day, I think that we should just love and respect everybody. And my brain is fried right now because first day of school type beat, you know, but I just think that there's a big lack of respect that comes out of capitalism. And it makes me really mad because all workers deserve to be treated with respect. All workers deserve to have suitable living, suitable places to live. They all deserve to have food because they are putting an effort in, and they deserve that. Why wouldn't they? People should not be allowed to starve in the streets and spend their days begging. And it makes it so incredibly hard for people to find jobs. It makes it so incredibly hard when you're homeless and you have a bad track record to get back on your feet in a capitalist society. And I believe that at the end of the day, we should be there for the people. People need us, we need the people. That is how I see everything, and that is how I view the whole world. If we are not there for each other, then who will be there for us? That
Good speech.
is my
good
final
speech.
message.
All right, can we go another 30 minutes? Because I had a lot wrong.
There were some things in there I agree with and some things I disagree with, but we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you all for watching. Next week, I think we're going to be trying to do Ancapistan next. I'm very excited for Ancapistan.
Oh, I didn't know we were gonna.
We're gonna.
do
I think
these
we
5
should
in a
do.
row.
I think we should do 5 in a row.
Oh
But
my god.
that's personal opinion.
yeah,
maybe
I
we'll
like
do.
that.
Maybe we'll do one every other episode. We'll figure it out. You guys will see in the next few episodes.
Whenever we can't decide an idea.
But whenever we can't decide an idea and we have to come up with it 5 minutes before, like we did today,
Yeah.
because we're all very indecisive.
That's when Cole gets an input.
That's when Cole.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening. This has been the Extremists Podcast. Again, if you liked this episode and others like it, if you enjoyed this episode and others like it, you can continue to support us by again clicking that Linktree link, and that'll again take you to our Discord, our Instagram, and all that fun stuff. Keep an eye out for future episodes as well as clips of episodes we will be posting on Instagram, and sometimes we also post them on YouTube. Thank you for listening, and have a good one.